welcome. Another year. Beautiful area. The show committee has worked hard. Every show has hiccups. The one next year is having theirs already. It is what it is, but look at all the smiley faces, the beautiful dogs, the beautiful part of the country. Welcome. A couple housekeeping things here. We do have bathrooms. If you need to use them, the aisles are thin. You know, we're packed in here. Just very quietly go out. You will have a break, and the break is very fluid. It's usually 10:15, 10:30, somewhere there. So we'll let you know. There's the coffee and the water. Feel free to get up and get that. You know, Irv is up here. We are recording this as we have done for quite a few years now. So you will be able to purchase it. If you purchase it now, Kathy Peters, our librarian, has said it is $18 now. See us at the Breed Ed table. We'll give you a receipt. You'll write out your name and address. She will mail that to you. These beautiful books that you have, if someone, I don't have mine yet. These, okay. These will be for sale also, and Nancy, they are $10, okay? See us, these are yours. If you need an extra one for somebody, they're $10, they'll be at the Breed Ed table. These beautiful books, the Illustrated Collie Standard, Lorraine Still, these are on sale for $6. I would prefer you not do it after this. I will collect all these books again. See me at the Breed Ed table tomorrow. Because after you leave here, they kind of get this ready for the next group coming in, so we don't have a lot of time. So that's another thing. Before I do anything else, I would like to introduce you to the team who has, for another year, worked very hard at all the kind of little things that we do that sometimes you don't even see. We get questions from pet people, we get questions from other breeds. We have been getting questions from some judges, and this has been very exciting because several members on this team have been taking these confirmation books, and with all breed judges, they'll say, well, I never saw that book. Oh, well, you know, here it is. So we're getting it out into the hands of those all breed judges too. And you are the best person to be doing that. Talk to them about it. Let them know how beautiful the collie is and what they need to know about the collie to have greater understanding. So we do those type things. Phone calls, emails, bulletin articles. We generally meet once a week. And since we're all over the country, we meet at a certain time. And I would say a general meeting might be 2 hours. We have met till the wee hours of the morning ironing things out. It's a great group. You would like to be a little fly on the wall to hear everything that happens. And the best part of this, and this is what I want you to take away with this, is when you get together and talk, no matter what the group is, you're going to come away with something new. And we applaud you for getting up early in the morning, getting here a day early, and investing in your education and your well-being of the collie. Because without continuing education through that bulletin, through your yearbook, through the mentors, through talking to each other, through seminars, the breed will not go forward. The primary purpose of Collie Club of America, I don't feel like I'm lecturing now, we all know this, is for the care, welfare, and well-being of our collies. It doesn't happen without all of you in this room paying it forward. The second thing is the education. Thank you for being here. If this is your very first breed education seminar, would you please stand? Thank you. If you have attended at least 5, stand. Okay. If you have attended 15 Breed Ed seminars, stand. There you go. There are a couple people standing. This is important. Okay, because this is very important too. We have to feed the breed, not just the food. If you are a junior, stand up. Okay, sit down, juniors. I would like everybody else to stand up and applaud these juniors, please. Sit down. That's your exercise. There's no complaints now. You've had the up and downs.
I love
You're good. Dogs. Please, beautiful facility. Clean up after yourself. I want you to all be patrolmen. If you see somebody that lets their dog squat and they don't squat after and pick it up, tell them about it. The whole area of dogdom is suffering, and if we don't make other people accountable, we're going to lose what we have. So if you will please do that, that would be wonderful. I'll announce I want you to meet our team in a minute, but I'd like to focus right now on this beautiful skull. If you went to a seminar several years back, you know what this is. This is actually a replica of Brandon. And who is Brandon? Champion Fantasies Bronze Talisman, beautiful dog. And we put clay on it. If you want to see that seminar, get in contact with Kathy Peters. There are still some DVDs available. And beyond that, if you attended that seminar, raise your hand. It was a good one, yeah. They were awed by it. I'm going to tell you that, look at this group of people. We had a similar group of people, and it was very quiet when they started working, and it was like, okay, let's see how long this lasts. Within 5 minutes, nobody went for coffee. It was the first time we could have spilled all the coffee out the water. They were all engaged in working. There was laughing and giggling and talking and lots of learning. These you could purchase for yourself. You can also rent them and have a little seminar or a learning lesson within your own club. Use those tools, expand your knowledge, expand what you do. Now, before I get too much into what we start with, I would like my Breed Ed people to please stand up. Lee, you're going to need to come in. We have right here at the control panel, Nancy McDonald. Looking lovely this morning. Thank you. In the back, we have Vanna White, a.k.a. Mary Robichon, Galaxy and Collie. Now, Nancy is going to be a runner, so if you have a question, we don't want her tripping in her garb there. She has 2 microphones. I am actually in a double microphone for 2. One of them feeds directly into Irv. Over there, Irv, wave. He's our videographer. And his charming wife, June, who helps along with us. You need to speak into both. The one silver-topped one is so that everybody can hear your question. The black one, you have to almost put it to your mouth like you're going to eat an ice cream cone. That one feeds directly into Irv, so that when the video is made, people don't, okay, they hear what you're saying. So you do need both. And don't give me that, but my voice is loud. We did that with our very first seminar we recorded. They were small rooms. We thought it would pick it up. Beautiful video, audio not so good. Lesson learned. So we will stop for a moment and we'll let that get done. So next to Mary, we have Deb Smith. Deb. Deb is one of our 2 interns, and Kathleen George. Mentoring has become such a big job. Next year, they're moving out of that mentoring. They're not mentors anymore. That's a 2-year stint. They will move into being our mentor liaisons. We need 2 people. There's lots of you out there. It's a huge job. Next, we have Barbara Collie. Barbara, Lochloran Collie. She might be running around with one of these microphones. You'll have to wait for Mary to get over there too. Then we have our current singular working triple time mentor liaison, Lee Cohen. And then we have right next to Lee, Debbie Holland, who will be running all over the place, Nancy Collie. Then we go to the only man on the committee right now, Larry Parsons. And let me tell you, Larry keeps things going. How many of you have seen, we've posted 3 videos online. I'm getting head nods. We have Janet Hitt, we have Lorraine Still, and we have Helga Kane. They were wonderful interviews. Larry is going to, because our committee is just expanding, he is going to be our, kind of like our coordinator for doing these videos. We can't lose people like Trudy Mangels and not have them. We can't lose George Horn and not have an interview with him. So what we're going to do is we're enlisting the membership now. You know, being a member doesn't mean a free ride. It means you have to pay into the club with your work. Those people who are in your areas that need to be caught on tape. We have a whole booklet to tell you how to do it. We have a video camera, we have lighting, we have microphones. You will get in touch with us. We will give you that information. We will mail it to you. You will ship it back to us. That video, though, belongs to the CC of A, that footage. It doesn't belong to an individual or a club. That becomes a property of the Collie Club of America. That's the best way to expand it. So that's the new thing that we have. Am I forgetting anything? Have I covered it all, Nancy? Are we good? Are you ready? Okay. I retired this year. Don't like it. It's not all it's cracked up to be. But I'm plenty busy. I'm plenty busy. But you never step away from being a teacher. So as you see, it's a quiz. Okay? Close the books. It's not an open book test. Close the books. You should have a piece of paper, a notebook or something to write on, or stick it in your head. Are you ready? Here we go. What descriptor, and notice, not what word, what descriptor occurs most often in the standard? Hit the timer. You have 30 seconds. No talking. This is not an exchange of answers. Cover your papers. Some people will copy from you. Oh, Diane Steele wrote it down right away, put her hand on it, and smiled. Time's up. You need to wait to find out. Ooh, those teachers, don't you hate them? Okay, here you go. How many times are these words in the Collie Standard? Let's go. Balance. How many times is balance in the Collie Standard? Now, while you're thinking, you should have heard, they got this quiz too. They came to Breed Ed one night and I said, it's quiz night. Yeah, C minus. You have 30 seconds. Yeah, you can't see that though, can you? Almost. Time's up. Balance appears 5 times. General appearance twice. Head twice. And expression. 5 times. Anybody get it right? Okay, if your hand is up if you guessed. There you go. Okay. Next one. Imperceptible. No talking. Imperceptible. Imperceptible. 30 seconds. How many times? Yep, how many times? Standard should be rolling in your head. Good. That's what we wanted it to do. There are no trick questions. Time's up. 0. It does not occur ever. That's because the word is perceptible. It's not a trick question. How many of you have heard, and what is it talking about when it talks about perceptible? Stop. And what does it say? It's perceptible. If it is imperceptible, what would that mean? A Roman nosed, no stop at all. So when you're talking to somebody and you tell them the stop is imperceptible and they're looking there and they're going, oh gosh, there's something wrong with my dog. It's all Greek to me. The words we use are sometimes confusing or they're true for you. Imperceptible isn't ever true. Okay, next one. There you go. And it's in head. Proportion. Start thinking. Think, 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 think. How many times in the standard? Think about where you're seeing it. That's left to be seen. 7 times. Okay, how many of you said 7 times? He's guessing. Okay, guess where? General appearance, twice. Head, twice. Ears, look at that, twice. And body, once. Think about those ears. Too small, too large. Would proportion be an important thing to be talking about? But when somebody says proportion of a collie, is that where you think it's at? No, but is it important? Yes. General appearance. Well, yeah, you would think proportion would be in there. And then body. That's what everybody automatically thinks about, body. But they don't look at those other areas. But proportion is very important on a whole collie. Ready for the next one? Well-rounded. Southpaws get extra credit, by the way. I'm seeing some southpaws in here. That's a left-handed person. See, it's all Greek to me. What's a southpaw? Almost done. Time's up. 3 times. How many of you got 3 times? No way, I love that. No way, that's not 3 times. Head, body. How many of you ever used well-rounded when you described the body? But look how it fits. Ah, depth of understanding with the standard. Next one. Blunt. What other words are used for blunt? Dull, numb, deadened. Be numb, that's one we use all the time. Brusque, abrupt, outspoken. Okay, ready? How many times? You're going to see me constantly dressed here. Sorry. They didn't have safety pins either. No safety pins. They just did it. And they didn't have pants in case it gets risque. Okay, time's up. Twice. Ooh, I hear some discord here. Twice. Ah. Yeah, the ahs. When you see it, it makes sense. But you don't think of it when somebody uses that term. Okay, let's go to the next one. Finish. Now, fear and obedience, you know what finish is. It's all a matter. Let's go to that question. 30 seconds. By the way, we're not going to be dressed like this all week. If you want us, look for our name tags. Hat head. Time's up. Once. Did you get it in the right place? Body. Really? How many of you are stunned? Yeah, there you go, an honest one. There you go. When somebody says finish, Mary, I want that microphone up. What do you think of finish? Who wants to give us what they think about finish? When you hear that term, someone says finish. Wait, we need somebody. Go back there. We need to hear it in the microphone.
I think about 15 points.
Do you understand why she's on this team? That's what we're looking for. Okay, with reference to our collies, who will do this one? Right over here. Come to Nancy Parsons. She'll tell us. When you're talking about finish, what are we talking about?
Muzzle.
How many of you agree? How many of you think differently now? We love you. On to the next one. Lean. Yeah. Okay, you have 30 seconds. Time's up. Once. In head. How many got this one right? Yeah, okay. That was an easy one. Next question. Chiseled. It's another one of those trick questions, right? Timer, please. Nancy, the timer. See, you get a little bit more time on that one, so everybody will get this one correct. Chiseled. Time's up. Once. In the eyes. The foreface must be chiseled. If you got it right, raise your hand. Okay. Next one. Depth. Timer, please. Depth. Love the whispering. Time's up. Once. Head. Clean cut and the depth of the skull. Okay, next one. Flat. Sure. Wait. That's okay.
I do speak left.
It's like, Irv will get me.
My question is, you said once on depth, but wasn't there some discussion about the rib, the depth of rib?
Oh. We'll have to go back and look, won't we?
I'm sorry.
Not a problem. That just,
I could have sworn there was.
okay. The chest is deep. It's deep. Okay. Well, imperceptible sounds like perceptible too, doesn't it? But what is the meaning? Okay? But this is good. This is what you need to be doing. There you go. Okay, let's move on. Flat. It's all about the discussion. Time's up. Flat appears 3 times. Ooh, the crowd was getting kind of testy there. 3 times, once in the head, once with eyes, and once on the smooth coat. Do they all mean something different? So when you use your words, you have to make sure that your explanation is clear. I know, you should have heard the ride with the Breed Ed team when we were doing this. That's not right. And Mary always has her standard right next to her whenever we have a Breed Ed meeting. We're all starting to do that. And she'll go, I have it right here. And it's like, thank you, Mary, we love you. Okay, next one. Corners. How many times is corners in the standard? Timer is ticking. Corners, corners, corners. Let's see. It's kind of fun to look around the room and see you as you're testing, you know, and same expressions when I had students. Same things. You know, the thinking, the this, the that, the real serious, the don't look at my paper. And then the ones that just kind of like, we have all that out there. Irv needs to be taking pictures of you guys. Okay, once, head. Corners of the eyes. Okay, how many of you got that one? How many of you thought it was somewhere else? Okay, we have some honest ones. Good, because it's used otherwise. Next question. Length. Timer. Length. How many times is length in the standard? How many are you thinking, I think I need to go back and read the standard? Time is up. Come on, there we go. 6 times. Whoa! Whoa! Get more coffee. 5 times in head. Once in ears. How many of you thought it should be in body? There was arguing on our team. Nope, nope, look at it. 5 times in the head. You know, we get accused of being, and I'm going to use the word accused of being a head breed. We are not a head breed. Head is important. The Collie is a total package. Don't let anybody try to tell you otherwise. I will argue that point, and my team will argue that point. They have to have head, they have to have the brain in it, they have to be biddable and want to work, and they have to be able to move. Because if they don't have it, that's not what we should be breeding for, that's not what the standard is asking. Next question. Okay, here we go. Going back to question number 1. Now the important word here is descriptor, not word, because there are other things in the standard that appear often, but what descriptor occurs most often in the standard? And the answer is expression. I'm going to quote Marcia Keller, and most of you can do it with me. What is she looking for? What's most important? Expression, expression, expression. She never said, and other people never said, it's the only thing you look for. And that's the misnomer. It's important, the standard says it's important. It doesn't say to flush everything else down the toilet. Okay. Head once, eyes twice, ears once, expression 4 times. That doesn't include the section that says expression. So there's your quiz. Okay, ponder this. Remember, it's all Greek to me. Is it better to be thrifty or cheap? Empty or full? Confident or self-serving? Exacting or picky? That depends upon the context. True? Okay. Thrifty or cheap? Mary's going to run around here. Thrifty. Is that, first of all, thumbs up, thumbs down? How many of you say thrifty is a positive thing? Hands up. Hands down. How many of you say cheap is a positive thing? We've got one person back there. Okay, go back to the person that says cheap is a positive thing. That would be Lee Cohen. And Mary's agreeing. Okay, go ahead. When is cheap a good thing?
When you can get it in bulk.
Perspective. We want you to think. That's the point of this whole seminar. Let's look at the next set of words. Empty or full? How many say empty is a positive thing? Okay, how many say full is a positive thing? Okay, let's go back to, so empty is negative. When is empty positive? I need a volunteer. Let's come over to one of these hands. Hang on. Go over, yeah, right over the 2. There he is. Go. Okay. Yeah, they all need to hear.
I want my dog poop buckets emptied.
Okay, and come on over here. That's a positive thing.
When my email box is empty.
So, can it be a positive thing? One more.
Joel Rosenberg's house, empty.
Okay, next one. Confident or self-serving? Is confident positive? Is self-serving positive? How many say confident is negative? How many say self-serving is negative? How can we make it positive? Right back there.
When my husband takes the dishes off the table, he's self-serving.
Perspective.
I was going to say, in terms of dogs, it's good to be self-serving with your dogs, to always put what your ideals and your morals and where you want to go with your breeding and your showing first before what others may give their opinion in the ring.
Okay. A junior. Love them. Next one. Oh, I'll do it. Exacting or picky? Is exacting positive? Hands. What about picky? Is that positive? It can be. We've changed our thought processes. How many of you think that exacting can be a bad thing? How can you make it positive? Right over here. How can exacting, and you all know those people.
When you're looking at details of a dog, it's good to be able to notice the finer points of the dog, and I would call that being exacting.
Okay? When we look at a dog, we're looking at virtues. When you go into the mentoring section, they're going to be talking to you about virtues. Don't ask them what's wrong with the dog. They're not going to tell you. They're going to tell you what the standard says you should be breeding to. Next one.
Holding yourself to exacting standards.
There you go. Okay, let's look at the last one, picky. How is picky a good thing? Go ahead.
Well, my parents told me to be picky with who I date, so.
You have good parents. And if you're not, they will be.
I've become picky with the food I give my dog instead of buying cheap stuff because now the picky stuff makes my dog feel better.
There you go. Okay. Great answers. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning. It's all Greek to me. How'd you do? Was that an okay for you? You can do something like this as a program very easily at your club. Grab that standard. Get into the standard. That's the only way it's going to be better. Okay. On to the next thing. I'm going to move over here. Are you ready, Nancy? How many of you remember the game Pin the Tail on the Donkey? How many of you are worried now? You've seen it. Okay. I need to come and get my cheat sheet. Nancy, you have yours? It's on your phone. She can have her phone on because it's not going to be... Okay. I'm going to walk over while she's queuing in the next part of the program. Okay, we will need volunteers for this. And Lee, I'm going to need your pair of scissors. You can talk now. But not too long. I'll tell you when you have to stop. We don't have scissors up there. Here we go. A prop. Here we go, the literal collie. Being literal is, now you're going to have Mary running all over the room because we're going to have you tell us what these are, okay? Do we want to do it like Blindman's Bluff? Do I just pick a volunteer and you tell us what it is? Or do you want to choose it yourself? We'll hold it up. They're all going, don't pick me. Okay, I need a volunteer. What are these? I need a volunteer. Raise your hand. She'll come around. Right over here. Okay.
Hello.
Hello. What are these?
Caesar?
What does this have to do with a collie? Where does it go in a collie?
Everywhere.
Who can help? If you can help, we're gonna run you. Where do scissors come into a collie standard?
The bite.
The bite. There they are. Scissors. Okay, the next one is, oh my gosh. Who was supposed to bring the wedge? Right, hang on.
Here, I have a shoe.
There we go. We have a dual purpose thing. Thank you, Lee. See, they're great. They don't forget it. You ask who is supposed to bring it, and they run right up. Who can tell us? Okay, it's a wedge. It's not cheese. We don't use, well, you do use cheese in a collie. I can think of a way. Where is that wedge? Who knows where the wedge is? Got a hand back there? Got a hand over here?
The head.
The head. We'll put the wedge down and use this for later. Okay. Oh. Ready? Don't use that word imperceptible. I have a bar of soap and I know how to use it.
The stop is on the head, right in between the eyes.
Okay. There we go. Oh. Volunteer? Oh, we got somebody over there jumping out of their seats. It's those people from Illinois, you have to watch out.
Feathering.
Feathering. Where does it belong on the dog? Describe it.
Backs of the legs, under the chest.
The back?
The back, yeah.
Yeah, okay. There we go, feathering. Okay, here we go. This is so good. It's not marijuana, by the way. I'm just saying. It is a bush. Some people went, it's like, no, it's rosemary, actually. But it's a bush. You okay up here?
I have no comment.
It's good. You don't want to go there? Anybody help? There's like a bush. What are they talking about? Gonna go there? Well, wherever they want.
Is it the tail?
Nancy? It'll be more clear in a moment. Okay. We have two kinds. I'm going to come over to Irv so you can kind of see. Now, I would like to point out something when we're done. Does anybody want to take that? We have juniors jumping out of their seats at us here.
The eyes.
The eyes. Now, I'm going to have Irv kind of zoom in on these. I have an almond inside the shell and outside. Can you get that, Irv? Do I need to turn my hand more?
Stay still.
Stay still. Oh my gosh. Now, I want you to notice, one is the almond in the shell, and one is the almond outside of the shell. And the shape is similar, but it's still different. Which one do they want when they talk about the standard? Almonds. Okay. Oh, here we go. Here we go. What is this? It is Nancy's favorite. Well, I mean, it's the one that, yeah, this is a good one. Frill. Where is the frill? Nan, do you want to run around, Mary? Frill, frill, frill. Right over here. Yeah, you just got to go through in that garb that we have.
It's the ruff under the neck.
Okay, the frill. Good picture, huh? Okay, arch. And where does that belong?
The neck.
That's what I have here. No. Frill. Chisel, and we need to know where that goes. Raise your hand, and Vanna will be running over, way over there. Over here, over there.
Eyes.
Is it the eyes? We're getting to yes. Some people are going, eyes? Okay, now I'm okay to go to the next one, Nancy? Are we good? Okay, yeah. I need to learn how to read. Oh, the flame. Sorry. Get with it.
Think about it a little bit more literally.
Yeah, you really have to think literally.
Very literally.
Think literally. What is this? It's a blaze. Good one. And she's smiling too. She's like, oh, I know what that is. Okay, and you want to run that over to our blaze lady here. Come on over. Lori will tell us. Oh, someone back there. She's got him.
Blaze refers to colors.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Over here. Keep coming. Here we go. Raise your hand.
Hey, good to see you too. Blaze, four-face.
Yeah. Okay. We good? I can't see Nancy. Okay, here we go. Level. And we need somebody to tell us where. Raise your hand. Okay, she's running, she's running.
The top line.
The top line.
Parallel plane.
Okay. That's what I've got. Do you have other things that you want on there? I have other things up here. Do you want the carriage? You good? You don't want the carriage. Okay, we've got this. That's it? Yeah. Let's be done. There's your collie. Isn't it attractive? But when you think about it, and you use those terms, you know, that terminology is an important thing, and I'm going to tell you a story about my daughter, and she'll roll her eyes, but they went to, I sent my kids to a Christian school. Now, she was raised with collies, and she knew there were dogs and bitches. Right. She had to be trained not to say, my bitch won points this weekend, or she would have been expelled. However, that was, 5 and 6. 7, she did something on dogs, and she got to use the term, and I think she did that thing on purpose so she could tell them, female dogs are called bitches. So, used in the correct term, they have greater understanding, but for her just to espouse that word would have gotten her in trouble. So as we use these words, it's very important for us to use them as they are meant to be. Okay, now you get to listen to people much wiser than I. Debbie needs Carol Irvin's keys. Carol? You got them? Okay. She got them? Never mind.
In the 40-odd years that you bred, what do you think were some of the hardest qualities to go out and get?
Well, I think the hardest thing to keep is expression. You never can breed away from expression. And, once you see it, then you have to have it. And so, whatever, no matter what kind of an outcross you make, there are certain intrinsic things like the light head and, and profile and balance that you have to keep or you lose them.
Was expression sort of drummed? I know for me, it was something my mentors were very always reminding me how important expression is, and would always remind me about the part of the Collie standard which said the Collie not be judged correctly until you've looked at its expression. But who were some of the early dogs in photos that, sort of tickled your imagination?
Well, the one that I think really brought into focus my image of the Collie was Champion Tocallan Golden Ruler. To me, I realized that to me a Collie was going to have to be an elegant picture with a beautiful neck and a flowing coat and a balance of outline and head qualities. He was, and he still remains, the picture of something that I always wish I would find in my backyard. Sometimes they come close, but there's, it's always like my ideal. And then I remember the picture of Champion Scotland's Casanova that Evelyn Schaefer took. That was I think it was in Trudy's book. And it was like a picture of a beautiful face on a tricolor, which I think is the hardest thing to get in collies, to find that, that expression on a tri-face. But you can't just learn expression from a book. You can have the words read to you 100 times, but if you don't have a mentor who actually can point out expression, you end up having an epiphany when you actually finally see it. You've read the words 100,000 times, and then one standing in front of you and somebody whose opinion is important to you, who you think knows what a pretty face is, points out the things about that expression, and suddenly, you get it.
And I think mentoring is even different today. My favorite story of all was my mentor, Pat Starkweather, told me that when she first got started, the big goal for anybody was to win at the Westminster Kennel Club. And those were the days when they had big 5-point entries and whatever. So Pat she went first with a pet, and it didn't do well at all. And she was a little forlorn, so then she spent a lot of money and she bought a show dog. And she went to the garden, and it didn't do any good there either. And she told me she was really upset about it. And she didn't really know the Collie people, but she knew that Mrs. Long of Noranda was a very famous Collie person. And she said that sheepishly she went up to Mrs. Long and said to her, introduced herself and said, "Could you tell me what's wrong with my dog? I don't understand. The judge didn't even look at it or give it a ribbon." And she said, "Well, let's go look at her." And she walked down the bench with this strange new friend named Pat and went over her bitch carefully and examined it. And Pat said she didn't say anything. She said, "Come with me, young lady." And she went over to the next row of benching, to this bench where there was this beautiful sable bitch on the bench. And she said, "I want you to look at this one, and I want you to look at this and that." And she went over the bitch's head. She took her down off the bench. She gated her up and down the benching aisle. And Pat said the whole standard finally came alive, and I understood what the words meant. And she never said one negative thing about my dog. She didn't even discuss it. Instead, she showed me the positive aspects of it.
And wasn't it someone else's dog?
Yeah. Mrs. Long had 3 of her own entries at that show that she could have used as an example, but she took her over to Mrs. Gray's bench of Wooley's Lane and took one of those bitches down to show them. Aesthetically, what won't you deal with?
What won't I deal with? That's probably better. I can't abide wide eye placement. I hate that. It's, you could find a lot of other things at my place, but you wouldn't find that. I hate depth of head. I like nothing better than a really beautiful long head with a barely perceptible stop, not a stair step, and no depth. These are the things that I want to see. I want to see a big neck. When I feel like it's slipping away from me, I get nervous because you try and do all these things to make sure that it's like you get one part fixed and you get the fronts looking just the way you want and the rears fall off and that kind of thing, but I still want that. I want the picture. These are, I want the coat, but I never really dwell on it. I remember when I judged in Argentina, the first time I judged, there was, it was a nice specialty, and I had a beautiful coated dog in the ring with, you know, with tons of hair and a good attitude, and I had a little tiny bitch with a beautiful face and a really pretty head who moved well and stuff. She ended up being my best of breed, and people couldn't understand, or they, you know, they questioned the fact that I would put up something that didn't have coat, but your dogs are always have. I said, you know, she's not in a great coat. She's kind of out of coat right now, but she had all the details that make her a really great bitch. And the dog was a very pretty dog, but he wasn't as good in the things that mattered to me.
I had a friend who was very heavy set, and she always wore these big ponchos. And I said, why do you always wear the ponchos? And she said, to cover up everything that's underneath them. And I thought, you know, you can have a lot of coat, but is it there to enhance or to cover up? And sometimes, you know, I do think you can have too much because our standard calls for a fitting coat. You know, sometimes it just hangs.
Well, sometimes we disagree on that issue because, you know, I love them pretty and fancy, and I love the coat, but it's not the thing.
I think you want it to fit that if they're outside, it doesn't require 2 cans of spray starch or whatever.
Or whatever, exactly. You know, but it's not the the most important characteristic of a collie to me. It just happens to be something that's in our family, and I'm glad of it.
It's a crowning glory.
Yeah, but it's not the be-all and end-all. There's nothing more important than the expression. I remember Marcia Keller saying that at a seminar that we were at. She just kept expression, expression, expression. What are the 3 most important things to you? Yes.
Watch the Dobes and watch the Danes and watch the Boxers and the German Shepherds, and try to learn something about shoulder layback, try to learn about nice level backs, try to learn about a hindquarter where the thigh is strong and full instead of kind of weak, like so many of them are very weak in the upper thigh. I would say, that's what I'd say to them. Study structure. Try to really learn what a well-built dog is. And you haven't heard me say much about heads, and it isn't that I don't value a great head. I feel it's the hallmark of the breed, but I do feel strongly too that that great head without the proper thing to carry it around is not valuable.
Assuming that it is important to leave a legacy to the collie world, what kind of legacy would you like to leave?
Well, I think the legacy is present in the dogs that I have bred, and I have been asked, for instance, how do you start a line? And I would say probably the answer to that begins with, why start a line? There's no point in trying to do it unless you have some particular aspect that is yours alone, or that you feel is more important. Something that doesn't exist in the breed and you want to make it exist in the breed. And when I first started, it was almost impossible to find dogs that had proper balance for the collie. In order to get what I consider proper collie balance, you almost have to go against the state of nature. What I like to see on a collie is a very long, clean, lean head with no width of back skull, and just coming right straight back from the end of the muzzle all the way back to the ears. And combine that with a nice, well-rounded, well-filled out body and good heavy bone. Now, it's the easiest thing in the world to get a chunky dog, a well-rounded dog, with a short, broad head. It's very easy to get a long, lean head on a tall, rangy, lanky dog. But when you are trying to combine opposite qualities, like a long, lean head and a well-rounded, filled-out body and heavy bone, you're going against nature. And I think the only thing that's important in dog breeding is to go against nature, because otherwise we'd all revert back and have wolves running around. And so in order to produce the thing I desire most, which is the balance of the lean, clean head and the elegance of style, and yet a nice, well filled out, round chest, full loin, rounded rump on the dog, and lovely bone and tight feet. And I have been able to do that, and I've been able to do it over a period of many generations. We can start, speaking of some dogs out here that I mentioned were tail male Glen Hill for a long ways back, we can start, interestingly enough, back with my nobleman dog, whom I mentioned as my first favorite. And now he sired a dog called Emperor Jones. Emperor Jones sired Full Dress. Full Dress is well spread throughout at this breed. He's represented, almost all lines have some Full Dress behind them. Full Dress sired a dog called Champion Glen Hill Star Ridge Stardust. Stardust sired a dog called Dorian Gray. Dorian Gray sired Flashback. Flashback sired the dog called, who am I thinking of? Ace of Spades. Ace of Spades sired Floridian, and Floridian sired these two puppies that you saw out here. Now, I didn't count the generations, but interestingly enough, if you looked back over all those dogs, you would find they definitely carried that same balance, which I feel is my legacy to the breed.
When we are asked how we would recognize a good one, the reply is simple: you will know. It is almost impossible to translate expression, the kind which gives you goosebumps and conveys with mere adjectives what the combination of the eye, the muzzle, ears, and skull should represent. A great teacher never tries to explain his vision. He simply invites you to stand beside him and see for yourself. Education is perfecting a cultivated eye. If you have been in this hobby for a number of years, you know that your interpretation, acceptance, and tolerance has changed due to a cultivated eye for the ideal.
What do you look for in the collie?
First thing I look for is temperament, because the dog has to be a friend, and it has to be a collie, and that's the temperament. That's why, I read Albert Pacer Interview, and I wanted my dogs to be as smart as his dogs, and that was why I went into collies, because of the temperament. Then they have to be beautiful, and this beauty has to be of head and body. I will not live with an unsound dog, but I also couldn't live with an ugly-headed dog. So it has to be a combination of these things. I want style, I want elegance, but I also want movement.
You've been successful in retaining your line and your type. How have you done this?
Culling.
Culling.
And
what does that mean to those of us that may be new to this breed, or novices, if you will?
Being very critical. Being able to say that this dog has that fault, or this has to be, bred out for. There are certain traits that I won't allow in the line. One of them being a deep head, because I don't think you could ever get rid of it. But I think that you have to maintain an objectivity toward the dogs. And I think my first dogs that I ever had, that was very difficult, because I was so emotionally involved with each individual that to think that there was something that this dog could or couldn't do was very hard to separate myself. Through the years, I think the line has become more important to me than perhaps each individual dog, although, I love each individual dog. I play with them, they're part of my family, but the overall look and what they can contribute as an artist, each color that they can add to the painting, is very important. And never losing sight of what that image is. what I want in a collie, no matter what the fads are that are going around. And I think that's very important.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the virtues of this family that you're working with and where you want to go.
Well, I've always been a head person. If a collie doesn't have a correct head and really beautiful eye expression, the rest of it doesn't. If they have that and don't have the head, they're just not that important to me. So I've always concentrated on that, and I've gone for the lines that showed me that head and expression that I like. But I also was impressed by the Pareto line that they were basically a very healthy and hardy group and very sound in temperament. You always want the whole thing, and you always aim for that in your breedings. But as I said, if they don't have the head and eye and expression that I want, they just aren't going to make it for us. I've got to look out the window at them and like what I see.
Yeah, when you hear criticism of that particular fact, as you do sometimes, particularly for all-arounders, all they really have to do is read the standard, don't they?
Absolutely. The standard really emphasizes how important expression and head is. You also want the whole dog. You want them to be able to move. You want them balanced. You want the right outline.
Yeah, I won't make a lot of reference to what Van Dyke used to say about, give me the head, I can get the rest from mutts. I don't think that really holds much water nowadays. I know what he meant.
You didn't really answer completely what Ed Myers taught you about the standard.
Well, the wonderful thing that I got out of this was that Ed explained to me why everything was in there. He even explained to me some of the things that were left ambiguous. They were ambiguous on purpose because they gave leeway to judges. They gave leeway to breeders. And that it really works and that we should respect the standard is proven in that under this same standard, when I first came into the breed, we had Roman-nosed dogs, we had cowhock dogs, we had dogs with all kinds of major problems, and they really have disappeared. Many of these problems and the severity of them have disappeared, and all of this happened under that standard. So if a wonderful collie evolved under this standard, I absolutely see no reason why we should touch it. I think we should live up to it, we should respect it, and it, thank God, has enough ambiguities in it, sorry about that, that you have space to move. By trying to rewrite standards to mathematical proportions, either word-wise or really with math, actually, in my opinion, hurts a breed. And he taught me the respect of the standard and the thought that went into it. I almost feel about the Collie standard like I feel about the Constitution of the United States. You have to be extremely careful. Very intelligent and very clever people wrote it, and we have to make sure that we don't louse it up.
Weren't those great snippets? Thank you for your patience waiting for us to get the names right. It's kind of hard when you put all this together. Weren't these wonderful? You have access to this. We have our AV library, and Kathy Peters is wonderful with us. We tell her what we're doing, and she tells us, find this, go to this one, look at this one. I mean, she just knows where all this stuff is. But you could purchase these. That first one is the newest one in the group, and of course that was John Buddy Tartenside and Judy Evan Clarion. They actually came up in collies together. They were friends through it all. And if you look at the Clarion collies and you look at the Tartenside collies, do they look like each other? Did they agree with each other? Did they respect each other? Did they use the knowledge of each other? Yes. Were they breeding for the same thing? Yes. Now, that was the first one. Let's go to the last one with John Honig. We'll talk about the other ones. Respect of the standard. We don't like something, so let's change the standard, and that's going to make it better. You breed to the standard, and if you're breeding to the standard, you're holding the standard up to what it's supposed to be. You don't change it down to your levels, and I know your parents all said, set the bar and get to the bar. Don't move the bar down. We have a comment over here, Mary. We need you here by Diane Steele, the second table, third in.
I have to say that watching that video brought tears to my eyes because I've shown so many dogs for those people. You know, but I want to tell, and it must have been John, but I was told very clearly that you must breed to the standards. You do not change the standard to meet today's dogs. And that's how I learned dogs in general.
Yes.
You know.
A good share. Ask you a question here, if you will admit it. How many of you have started over in Collies? You started one way and it just wasn't working out and you changed your direction. Stand up. My hand is up because I've done it. Doesn't mean you didn't like what you had. Just meant you weren't going where you needed to, and you weren't going to get it by breeding the same. Okay, thank you. Sometimes you have to start over. I want you to look at those people out there that were standing. They're successful, and we're not going to talk about the ribbon chase right now, because some of their beautiful dogs were never champions. They may have been used for breeding. Some of them, maybe something happened to and that male couldn't be shown, but he sure produced. So it's all about the standard. You got to get into it and you got to know it, and sometimes you suffer with it. Breeding isn't easy, showing isn't easy, but keep the breed true to what it's supposed to be. The ambiguity in it gave us Clarion and Tartenside. They're beautiful. You may have one or the other type dog in your backyard, but you need to be able to appreciate the qualities and virtues of those other lines and collies. They're there. Watch for those virtues. We hurt the breed if we change our standard. You take all those beautiful dogs that have come before us and say, well, they must have been wrong. I don't think so. Okay, then we went on to Glen Hill with Pat Starkweather, breeding for opposites, and that is so true. How many of you have done breedings and you thought you were going to get something and you didn't get it? It's those opposites, Mother Nature. Any comments about that here? Somebody want to share? No, they're going, not me. But we've all had them. And the talk about go sit and look at other breeds. It seems like showing now, what people are doing is they come to the show, they set up, they show, and they're gone. They don't have any time for any other breeds because it's not a collie. But those breeds may help push you forward by watching them. Don't hinder your education by being narrow-minded. Expand. On to Bobby Roos Wickmere. Your interpretation evolves. Okay, remember we asked how many of you started again? Some stood up. It's because their eye was learning. Their brain was expanding. Their understanding of the depth of the standard improved. And they went, it's not happening here. They're moving on. And it's a difficult thing. Here's a tough question, and some of you may not want to answer it. We'll see how bold you are. How many of you are getting ready to make a change or thinking about changing. Any takers on that one? There are smiles that you can't see that I see. Good for you. Go for it. Okay, then we went on to Barbara Schwartz. Anybody, you know, Barbara knows that. She will tell you exactly what you think. She thinks, whether you want to hear it or not. And she'll tell it over and over again. And she'll tell you she doesn't care. She's very forthright, and you've got to love her. Soundness, style, and movement. Talk to her about that. I think, you know, when you think back, Kathy Peters suggested that we get Rachel Page Elliott. How many of you know who Rachel Page Elliott is? Okay, for those of you who don't know, she took that structure and movement of dogs forward by actually X-ray videotaping dogs in motion. And look up her books on the internet. We have a tape that she did. Now they had golden retrievers. Is that, her breed is golden, her husband had goldens. She did a video with Kathy Peters, Barbara Schwartz, and people up in that area of collie movement. It's a short video, but it shows some very good things. It is in the video library. It's a great one to have. And Barbara was part of that. So when you talk structure and movement, she's going to talk about that. She mentioned culling. Now, again, it's all Greek to me. When you say culling in certain circles, that means to kill. So, you know, when somebody says culling, the first time I heard it, I was like, I've got to kill my puppies? I can't do that. No, it's using a critical eye and evaluating those puppies or those dogs and saying, this dog didn't develop the way I thought it would. But if I keep taking it to shows, it's going to finish. Does that move the breed forward? Does that move you forward? That holds you back. Cull. Another use of the term. Use it and use it. Emotional involvement. But he was the only puppy. He has this huge white collar. At our house, we have another color of collie, and it's called white is optional. I have two beautiful dogs that have, I mean, they're beautiful examples of collies. They don't have a full white collar. When we get a white collar in our litters, we go, what's that? Well, that one's not staying because it's got a full white collar. So, you know, you've got to take that emotionality of it and put it where it belongs. And I liked when she said, keep your eye on the image. And what should that image be? The standard. The standard. Okay. We did Marcia Keller many times, and then we really did Marcia because we really thought what she had to say was important. And those of you, how many of you know who Marcia Keller is, Marna's Collies? Okay, you're very blessed because we have the other parts of Marna's Collies. We have Ron Keller. Ron, would you stand up? Marcia's husband. He will be one of our table monitors. And Carrie Leonard, this is her daughter. So you see those juniors grow up. Yes. Wait, microphone, hang on.
Does not have to do with Marcia.
Okay, well, we'll see what it is.
How many people in the room know who Edith Levine is, or was? That's good. Because one summertime, we invited a number of the college people from the Northeast and the Midwest to our home, and we had a lot of discussion. And there were people from the ones who bred mostly with the Brandwin type dogs and the ones who bred with the Prater dogs. And after the evening of discussion, Edith spoke up in her usual candid way, her candor, and she said, specifically pointing to George Horn at the time, and said, you breed mostly with the Prater dogs, and we breed mostly with the Brandwood dogs. We like the good ones of yours. You like the good ones of ours, but we blame the other side for the bad ones. And so if you knew Edith, you would understand.
Well, that's just like it's always the stud dog's fault, right? But some people are going, it is? No. Get a stud dog, you'll figure that one out real fast. Okay, so we went on to Marcia, and she said right at the beginning, I'm a head person. How many of you in here are head persons? Okay, we've got some proud, put those hands up. It's not a bad thing to be a head person. We're a head breed, but she also said, I need it all. You always want the whole thing. So don't just quote part of what Marcia says without saying the whole thing, because she didn't just breed heads on a stick. They had to have it all. If they had the other parts of the body and they didn't have the head, they weren't staying. Okay, so she wanted that complete picture, but it had to have the head. She told you the standard tells you what you're supposed to have. No. Again, go back to the standard, and she said balance and outline are important. And remember how many times that word balance was in the standard. You took the test. You know the answer. And then we went on to John, who talked about why that standard is important. Now, we spent hours, days, weeks going through all the videos that we have on people to pull out snippets. It doesn't mean that the other videos that are out there weren't any good. The point of this seminar is that people were saying, I don't get it when somebody says this, I don't understand what that virtue is. We wanted to see who was using the words exactly from the standard so that you could draw on that. And we came down to these people who use those words, proportion, balance, depth, wedge. They use those things so that you could all understand them, because we had gooey expression. How many of you know what a gooey expression is? How many of you think that's good? It's a good thing if you have gooey expression. And some of you are going, ooh, gooey expression. But is that in the standard? So you don't have a clear view, and that's why you're here today. Okay, I think, are we ready for our, they're ready to come in? Okay, we have something new for you. Okay, just keep your eye on the screen, nothing else. Keep your eye. Dun 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 dun. Don't trip over this. Dun 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 dun. A little more. A little more. A little more. A little more. Wait. Okay, are we ready?
No, not yet.
We're waiting. We're waiting. Do you need a second hand here? I can get Karen up here. You good? You good? Okay. Very carefully. Aren't they beautiful? Now, how old is this young girl here?
10.
She's 10, and you'll be able to see on your screens. And how old is this youngster here? 6. So when you look at your collies, look up on the screens, because you're going to see that a little. Let me get out of the way. Pat's in the way. Here we go. So you can see. Okay, let's turn them around. Oh my goodness. Okay. These are beautiful examples. Now let's turn them. And they'll get the other side. Okay, Barbara, no offense, but your back end is in the way. Mine was too, so I'm going to move in the other direction because you need to see them, not me. Don't step on yourself. Okay, you need to turn with the shaved end the other way. You need to be looking at your screen. So, yeah, you're going, oh my gosh. Now, when you look at the coat, you get an impression, don't you? And how many times have you done ringside judging and you're looking and going, what is that judge doing?
Right behind it.
Okay, you don't have to get your hands on these dogs to see what is underneath, what is down to that skin. Okay? You have a greater understanding. And you know what, you can probably, I'm sure they will let you take pictures of these because we're going to break after this, but we want to talk about what you're seeing here as you look at this. These are beautiful dogs. They're beautiful examples. But remember what John said? Why do you wear that poncho? To hide stuff. And our coat often hides stuff. So when you're going into the depth of the standard, what you need to be doing is hands-on, so you feel the withers comes down. The top line is level. That group comes up. There's a reason for all that. But we hide that with the hair. Think about when we groom our dogs. We want that nice arch of neck to show. We want that top line to be level. So what do? We fix it so that it looks like here's the head, here's the body, and then people are breeding for a tabletop. But that's not what the standard says. If you have a well laid back shoulder, it's not going to be flat. And people are nodding their heads. And you see this when you look at these dogs. Those top lines, and look at the shoulders and the elbows, where they are. Those legs are not underneath the head. But you need to be looking at some of those dogs in the ring because they are. And I'm not making that a fault, I'm telling you the virtue. Their legs are well underneath them. Do you want to just walk them? No, we don't mind. And Irv does great editing, so he can take care of this time here. So, and you know what? The beauty of this is, as they're walking, remember what Marcia said, remember what Barbara said? They have to move. Watch the muscles move. These dogs are in good, hard condition. And that one is 10 years old. And she does look good. You can see it, and it's fluid. It's not choppy. Now, and you know what? Let's thank Debbie for doing this. Okay, and this is Mary Landis. That's
Alf.
Alf. It's a great name. So when you look at these dogs, let's see. Nancy, do you want, you can't because you're there. Mary, give that to one of the girls back there, and I want you to come up here, and I want you to go over the head as you would evaluate one of your dogs, and I want you to see what she's going to touch. Brenda Miramon will tell you she loves watching people touch dogs' heads. Wrong. Because they're not doing it the way they should. Do you see what she's doing with those hands and feeling with the fingers? Notice how her hand is going back and she's feeling that well-rounded muzzle.
I'll pull it apart too.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's like we're disrobing here in front of everybody. Can you, are you getting that, Irv, or does she need to? Yeah, there you go. Okay, and if we can move her more sideways so that she's turned that way. There you go. There you go. By the way, don't worry about the dogs being cold. Debbie brought coats for them. And these will be at your setup, won't they? Yep. So if you want to come and look and see what is under all that coat, and even on the smooth, look at the impression that you get. Okay, look at where these elbows are. Look at the turn of stifle. Look at the well let down hocks. You don't look at those dogs and say these hocks go on forever. They are well let down. Look at the tail carriage. Questions over there? There we go. Good. This is what we want. This is the time to do that.
Mine's not a question, but it's
Yes.
more, especially with the blue bitch, it's really important to put your hands on them because there's optical illusions there with where the black spots are,
Absolutely.
what your background is, what the handler's wearing. I mean, those all play a part. So that's something that on the outside when you're not judging that you won't see.
Right. We have one over here. Good observation. These are the things, if you want to learn, you got to share. Sharing is a good way. No such thing as a dumb question. Somebody's thinking it too.
So just to follow up with, is it Courtney? Yeah. To follow up with what Courtney said, I remember a dog show many years ago with Pat Trotter where I showed a blue smooth dog to her. And she said to me, I can't see this dog's expression. And I get confused with the Merlin pattern and like his angles and his head properties and that kind of stuff. So she asked me, she gave him best of variety, but she was very confused. And so she said, will you bring him back to me? So we brought the dog back. She went over the dog and we told her to feel and just let your hands feel the dog's head properties. And if you can actually feel the length of head and you can then look at where his eyes are placed in the head and you can feel the stop, there's balance there. And then look into the dog's eyes and how they're placed. And she was like, okay, I see it. But she was very confused with tries and blues because she got taken away with the markings. And I think also the other statement I'm gonna make is a lot of judges, and I've seen it with my own dogs, and I'm really careful when I judge as well, is the approach, how you approach that dog's head to go over it. And I think that we need to be very conscious about how we do it, how much force you put on that dog's head, because you don't need to put that much force to be able to feel the head properties. But I loved your approach and how you did it.
Okay. Other comments? Way over there in the front? Okay, let's switch them around now so that we have the sable there and the blue here.
I
So
just
Irv can
wanted
get
to
that
say,
picture too.
something that she said kind of bothered me. She had the dog in front of somebody, they couldn't assess the expression, were confused by it, but this dog still got variety. That really bothers me. That's a problem with the judging that's going on right now.
But maybe she felt, well, see, that was only one part of it. We don't know what the rest of the conversation was.
Right.
And I think you have to think about that. But you're right. And you know, we can't assess judging here. What we can do, though, is give those judges the best opportunity to see these dogs as the best they are. We all know that on any given day, it's a dog show.
Well, and she asked for additional education.
Right, and that's it. She asked for additional education. Debbie has had people come up to her, judges, say, you know, tell me something. And we need to be open. We don't need to take that as an affront. We need to say a learning opportunity. And if they go away with one more tool, they have a deeper understanding and appreciation of our breed. Any other questions or comments? Right over here. Over there? Okay, and then over here. Thank you.
I hear a lot, and I get it, I'm young when I ask this question. I hear it a lot when people say that their dog is specialty quality versus all breed quality. Shouldn't every collie be specialty and all breed?
Let's applaud that. And you're not too young, you're just maybe a little bit ahead of the game. Love you.
I have a question about the Ruff's beautiful angulation in the rear. Those hocks are so nice and low, and she's got that long sweeping thigh. But I notice, like right now, she's standing under herself. But I'm just wondering, I have a dog that stands under herself, and I'm thinking, well, if I could get her to put her legs back of her rump, which isn't her natural balance, that then her hocks, the lower part of the leg would be perpendicular to the ground. So what is the proper positioning, and is the dog's lower leg supposed to be perpendicular to the ground?
As you look at this dog, you need to understand she's going from the carpet to the, if you would see this, to, on and off. So that has everything to do with it. So it was a good observation. You can just walk over to Diane and I will do some talking here. It is important. And if you have a dog that does not stand, and we're going to call it four square, but does four square mean that the Collie is a square dog? No, it is a trifle long in proportion to its height. Let's use the words. If the dog has that, and it has all that structure in correct place, the dog should, most of the time, stand correctly. And I say most of the time because, you ever tired? Ever slouch? Think dogs don't do that? A pace is an okay gait for a dog. It's a lazy gait, it's a tired gait, it's a transition gait, it's an injury gait, and it's a structural fault. 5 things. You have to be able to know what it is and move ahead of it. Okay, let's go on to Diane Steele here.
In answer to your question, the rear legs should never be behind the body. The rear legs, the hocks should drop right below the butt. If they are behind the body, I'm going to tell you a little trick. More than likely, they're straight in the front. A dog that's straight in the front cannot balance itself unless it puts its rear legs all the way behind it. To train dogs to put their legs back, these are not sporting dogs. These are collies. And what I think the bitch is doing when she bought her foot in, she's waiting for Debbie to give her
a cookie.
She's ready to jump to get it herself. She's ready to risk being told not to do that, but she wants to get the cookie. And she's getting prepared to jump up to get it, is what's happening.
We've got more here. This is good. You're doing what you need to be doing.
Debbie, would you just move her out a few steps and then bring her back in? She'll probably show me she'll set herself.
She is. She's been setting herself up all over the place here. She's working the crowd. Yeah, she was standing correctly. The other thing that we have to realize is that what people are now doing is they are breeding to what judges not in the breed are putting up. They are looking at these dogs that come all the way back, those sporting breeds. We don't have a shepherd either. And they're saying that's correct. And the judge will say, move those dogs' legs back. Not on my dog. Don't give me the ribbon. I don't care. The dog is standing the way they need to stand. We've got answers will be back there.
When I first started as a young person, a lot long ago, we had a local club member who was blind. And I learned...
Lori McMullen.
Lori McMullen. And I learned from her as a teenager to feel and look at the dog's head with my fingertips very lightly and go over the structure, because we were talking about the blue being, the expression being different and so on and so forth, to the point that when I would close my eyes and go over the different dogs that she had me going over as I was learning and growing up, that you can definitely even tell the difference between the tries, the blues, and the sables. If you really, really put your eyes into your fingers.
Texture of coat will do it too, absolutely. And she was very good. She could tell you just about how many puppies she had. I mean, it was amazing. Okay, in the back there.
And addressing the deal where the dog puts the legs underneath her, remember this is a herding breed, they have to move, pivot, and I think that it's a natural thing for a collie to kind of have their back legs under them a good deal of the time. And I see, with other, the Shelties and all that, they seem to do the same thing. And I understand quarter horses are the same way. They kind of have their legs under them, and they are also like a herding breed, cutting horses.
If I can say something, remember, this is a 10-year-old dog. She has been in the band for 3 days. We've stopped, we've exercised her. She is a 10-year-old house dog. So.
She's doing beautifully here. You rock, Holly. I was just admiring the beautiful length of body. Trifle long, and you know what? Get a picture of her, Irv. Turn her away, Debbie, so that Irv can see the hair. And look at the length of body. Now you want to really see the length of body, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's that nice rectangle that you want to see. She's going to turn her around in a minute. She's like, how far do you want me, Mom? Okay, turn her around the other way so they can see the length, the real length of body. I mean, this is like, oh, beautiful. Okay, and then get her so that she's coming this way.
This is Champion Fantasies Party On. Grand Champion Fantasies Party On.
Go ahead and set her legs, Debbie. That's not a
Better
bad
known
thing
as
to
Holly.
do. Holly. Look at the length of body. And she's not tall. She is well on her legs. That's what you're breeding for.
And that's beautiful.
Right. Well, and that's, okay, Nancy, so that I'm not saying it all, go ahead and say it. Can you hear Irv?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, the length is coming from the whole dog, and from the length is created from the angulation, not the length of the back. Because she's not long, well, she's not long from the elbow to the stifle.
Right.
And that's not where you want the length.
Right.
I think something that's very important to keep in common, keep in mind, even though it's been commonly mentioned in the last couple of minutes, is that when looking at a dog, there's a lot of things to take into context and into your mind before going and jumping to conclusions or making certain judgments about the dog, both in the sense of the dogs in front of us as well as the comment made by Arden about a specialty dog versus an all-breed dog. Like I recently showed and finished a dog that the person who showed before me said should never be shown at a specialty or would never finish. The dog did finish at a specialty because the judge was capable of looking past just what they want at a specialty, which from what I've both kind of explained to me as a specialty dog is one that strongest attribute is its head rather than its whole body. And I've noticed that to be true in a lot of cases, which is good because head is very important, but it shouldn't be the only thing we're looking at. And the thing about the dog that I showed was he had a beautiful body, a great top line, and was a fantastic mover. And that judge that day was willing to see past certain faults in the head to value that dog. And I think that's something that's very important. Also that age needs to be counted into a factor because sometimes the youngest dog or the oldest dog in the ring may not be what they could be or what they were, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily not the nicest or the best fitting to the standard. Same goes for the person at the end of the lead, is that the person at the end of the lead shouldn't be discounted because of age, or the dog shouldn't be discounted because of the age of the person at the end.
Or vice versa.
Okay, a junior. Now, here's the other thing about juniors. You need to be supporting our juniors. You need to have at your specialties, have that junior class for them. Have junior showmanship. Cheer them on. When they're in the junior ring, if you can be there, applaud them. Now, she was brought up through Marjorie Tuff, and she'll tell you that. Good parenting and a good club. All of that builds our juniors. Okay, over to Ann Cross, I think. Is somebody over there? We got one back here. We got running.
I just wanted to speak real briefly to what you were saying about the juniors last year. It was a little disappointing that we didn't have as much support watching our juniors on Saturday morning as I feel we should.
Get out of bed.
Thank you.
They're worth it, aren't you? Did you not just learn something from this junior? Go juniors.
Yes, I just wanted to follow up on what we're talking about, where the dog will set themselves up. And a lot of this is, in my opinion, the training when you're teaching them to focus on the bait. And anybody who's shown to me knows that I usually have you bait your dog with their head down. If the dog is out doing their job of herding, they won't be looking up, they're going to be looking out. But this is the way you train your puppies to focus. And in fact, Debbie had told me that some time ago when I'd asked her about that. It is that you want them to focus on you so they're alert and looking beautiful. But when they're actually doing their work, their head is going to be down further, so their setting of their feet is going to be different. Because they're going to balance their body, the weight of their body on their feet appropriately when they're actually doing herding. So this is a little bit of a different situation when they're in the show ring. And anybody here that has ever shown under me that maybe I didn't do that? Ask you to bait your dog down?
Nope.
I always do that because it does show you what we're just talking about here, that there's nothing wrong with the structure. It's just that you are in the show ring. Right. It's a little bit different situation. You want to show them off to the best advantage and show their beautiful heads and expression. And and that's the thing. And I will always do that. So if you ever show to me, expect me to say, bait your dog down.
We're going to keep the dogs here a couple more minutes because this is a lot for them. And following, was there somebody else's comment back there? Okay. And while they're moving over that way, I'd like to follow up with Ann on, when you go to the group ring, a lot, not all, a lot of those group judges want your dog's head up. That's not a collie. You know what? The ribbon isn't that important. Let that dog's head, as the dog moves, that head has to drop forward to about a 10 o'clock position so that the front is not being pulled. Let the dog move on a loose lead. Yes?
Before people ask their questions, could they state their name and maybe the state they're from? Just because there's a lot of people who are wondering who you are.
Where are you from?
And one more thing, we're trying to get more coffee. It's supposed to be here, so.
Right, okay.
Might as well take a break till it gets here.
Don't take a break until it gets here? Okay. Keep asking the questions. They're on a coffee run. We got two. Good. Love you.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Dowling. I'm from Alaska. One thing that I would like to say is I go to shows. We always have to travel. And I don't always bring a collie, but I look excited, and I'm very excited to see them in the group, and they're not always there. So I get disappointed. I know there's an entry, but you guys don't always show up to the group, and I don't mean anyone here. I don't know who it is. But sometimes when I travel down to the States, I really love to see the collies out there in the group, and they're not there. So I just feel that we need to represent ourselves out in the group.
That's right. And that is so true, because remember, we have a judging change. Some of you may not have wanted to show, you may have wanted to show and to judge 1 or 2 or 3, but not 1 and 2. That's life. But how many of you want to see those collies anyhow? They're not all going to win, but they're all going to be beautiful, and somebody's going to learn something from them. So take those dogs proudly into the group, even if that person never puts up a collie. Who cares? This is a beautiful collie, and you're going to see it, whether you realize it or not, because guess what? You went in the show ring with the best dog, and you left the group ring with the best dog, and you let them know that by your presence. Okay, we're back there.
Hi again.
Where are you from? Who are you?
I'm Arden Brock. I'm from New York State. I'm attached to the Cove Run Collie Kennels. I will sort of admit that. What I wanted to say is a lot of us forget that the juniors kind of exist in a way because we're like their kids. I started off as a junior. I aged out last 2 years ago. I learned a lot actually from some of the younger juniors, the one sitting next to me, Becca, and a couple of the other ones. And I've learned throughout most of the shows I've come to from Specialty and from All Breed that some of the people we show with aren't very nice, but what I always hear from every other breed is that they love how the Collie juniors, we always come out applauding each other, shaking hands, telling everybody good job and thank you. And we always get the same questions most of the time when we leave. Why did you choose a smooth versus a rough, or why did you choose a rough versus a smooth? And I've come through the years that it doesn't matter about the coat. It matters about your connection to the dog and whether or not you want to be showing that dog. Like, I don't have a problem showing other people's dogs, but that's not my dog. It's not the one I have a connection with, where if I let them on a loose lead, it's gonna move with me. Whereas another dog's kind of looking at me like, well, who are you? What do you think you're doing? We have to remember that no matter what you go in the ring with, that dog's perfect. Whether it's your dog, somebody else's dog, we all want to say that we're better than other breeds, but we have to remember that most of the time we go in and we're thinking, what's going on? Why am I doing this? But you need to think, I'm gonna win. Even if it's not a ribbon today, I'm gonna win because I went in, I showed my dog, and I didn't fall this time.
Been there. Okay, I learned a long time ago, and this doesn't mean, you take it for what it means. There are two kinds of dogs, collies and those that wish there were. Doesn't mean that anybody else is under a collie, they just are wishing that they were a collie. Okay, how many other questions do we have, just so we can see? We had one over here somewhere. Okay, right up there, and then we're going to take our break. Oh, two. One there, then one over here, and then break, I promise you. You're getting antsy.
Hey, Mara Flood, New York. Going back to asking about keeping the leash up high and don't do that, don't string your dog up. I think it's really, really important. I've been fortunate enough to spend a lot of time in the group ring, and it's really important that we show our dogs the way they're supposed to be shown, not just because that's how they're supposed to be shown, they're collies, we're not supposed to string them up, but because if you have a judge that isn't aware of the structure and the movement, these dogs can't move with their heads strung up high, way behind their shoulder. They have to be able to drop their head and neck down and move off their shoulder so they can reach and then they can drive. And if you have a judge that does not understand that, like you said, it's not worth the ribbon. Stay true to your dog and show the dog the way it's supposed to be shown.
Rebecca Flood. I'm Sugar and Spice Collies with my mom, New York. To add to what my mom said and what other people were saying about being in the group ring is that you also have to take into account, or even being in a big specialty ring where it might not necessarily be in your favor, is that there's more going on than just the ribbons and like the ribbon chase, as we call it, or chasing points, is that there's the people outside of the ring, there's these other judges, there's the fact that we're doing this to better our dogs and to better our breeding lines and our bloodlines. Is so when you're in there, you're not just showing to the judge, you're showing to the spectators as well, who are looking for dogs to breed to, or dogs to buy, or looking for their ideal temperament, ideal head, movement, structure. And so you're not just in there for the judge and the ribbon, you're in there for the whole experience of the dog shows and being a part of the dog breeding.
Okay, let's keep all our comments right now. We want to keep it to the standard and what you saw with these dogs. Do we have other comments about the standard? Okay, dogs and the standards. Okay, let's come over here. We've been over here. We've got people over here that are going, what about us? Here we go. Hands up over here. There was right over here in the green. And then we'll come back over here.
Hi, Maggie Komasinski. I'm from New York. In Barbara Schwartz's interview, she mentioned fads. And so this is my question. I wonder what fads you have seen over the years, those of you who've been in the breed many, many years, fads that have either hurt the breed or
well, fads always hurt the breed, because a fad is not to the standard. It's what somebody has picked out, fine-pointed, and said, this is important. If it is not in your standard, it is a fad. You breed to the standard, not to somebody else's idea. over here, and then over there. And then I think it's break time.
I just wanted to make a comment about the dogs that we looked at. Did anybody notice how well-rounded the croups were and the tail placements? Okay, and they were beautiful. I mean, both of those bitches had beautiful, sloping, rounded croups. Can't imagine that their tails would be in the wrong place when they moved. And you asked about fads, so we're dealing with gay tail, right? You can see it and you can feel it when you go over the dog. And if the croup is not properly sloped and the tail looks like it's been put on like an ice cream cone, that dog's going to carry that tail in the wrong place and it's going to be up over the back. So, again, structure, put your hands on your dogs, and I think that we need to be our dog's own worst critics. That's what makes you a better breeder. And if you talk about the culling process, it's okay to be in love with a dog and make the hardest decision. And it's a heart decision is what it is when you decide that that's not going to work for you. And it's okay to do it when the dog's older. You find it a good cushy couch and let it go have a better life with a great family.
Right, and the thing is that you breed the dogs to last forever. That was a 10-year-old bitch. How many of you would like something like that lying on your couch? Okay, we have one up here, and then we're going to break. Right up way in the corner.
Hi, I'm Sharon Lilia from Alaska, and as you might guess, there aren't a lot of learning opportunities in Alaska, and we have a small group, but I wanted to add on to the junior. I think that by having a junior, putting her on my boy and having her show, it's fine-tuned my understanding of the standard and what to look for, because I have to teach her, and I think that's such a great way to reinforce what you're learning and how you can articulate it and how you can help the breed. And they become ambassadors as well when other people see them. So I just wanted to add.
Okay, let me explain our break. It's going to be 15 minutes. Go out there, do whatever you need to do. They said coffee would be coming, so you can get new drinks. See you in 15 minutes, and that would be at, about 10:35. Come on, babe.